Hey Adilah, what's up?
Good morning.
Good, good. Um, yo, Devon, what's good, man? I think you're on mute.
Good morning. How y'all doing? You guys can hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Oh,
Hey Gabby,
Hey, how's it going?
very good.
Morning, Gabby.
Nice to see
Just
you
just
all.
just
morning.
just bear with me. Yo, Palesa, what's up? You're gonna let me know when you're ready, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Can you guys hear me properly there?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay, Sarah's here as well. So everybody on our end is here.
Yes, sorry, I went to the other meeting on the Google
Brian,
things.
we're still like trying to project the whole thing. Can you give us just a few minutes?
Okay, that's fine. Yo, Sarah, I sent you the link on your LinkedIn. So my bad, my bad.
You have to remember it's early in the morning here, so like I had to juggle, different things. So there you go.
No worries. So just bear with me. Let me check the YouTube stream for now. But we're just about to jump off. Alessa, are you good to go?
Brian, can I try to go on my computer and try to log on through it instead of my phone? Do you
Yeah,
mind?
that's fine. Because Palesa just needs about 2 minutes or so. So that's proper. That's fine, Sarah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
cool.
Thanks. Cool.
Good morning. Just doing an audio check. Hope everybody's well.
Yeah, bro. Sounds clear.
Perfect.
Good. Okay, Sarah's back. Hmm. Devon, they're just updating their projector on the other end, right? That's the only stick up. So we're gonna start in a minute, getting that sorted. Okay.
Did you?
Yo, bro, you're gonna mute. Keniel.
No, sorry. Are you gonna cut the live feed in the meanwhile, or just gonna leave it?
It's gonna stream. I'm gonna edit it post.
Oh, perfect. All right. No
Yeah.
worries.
Yo, Palesa, once you're in the room, just raise your hand so that I can pin you, okay? Omukai. Can you guys on the ground hear me then?
Okay. Welcome to say something. Say something. This is it.
Yo.
Hey guys.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. We're back. You there, right?
Yes. Can you hear us?
I hear you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear.
Okay. You can start here.
All right,
Good.
cool. So we can start in it. Okay, Palesa, do you? Okay, cool. There we go. So, yo, Palesa, big up yourself. You got this.
Can you speak, sir?
Brian, can you speak?
Yeah, hello, I hear you.
There.
Okay, guys, let's go. Time.
Yeah, we are fine now.
All right, cool. Excellent.
Is this on? Into headset.
Okay, Palesa. Yo, Palesa, so what's the actual issue? I thought the audio is okay.
Can you hear us?
Say something.
Yeah, we proper hear you, yeah.
You didn't change it. Okay. You changed it. It worked.
Perfect. We
say
can hear
something
you
now?
all. You perfect. We can hear you all loud and clear. Can
Yo,
you hear
guys,
us?
I think where you guys are, we can proceed now because we can hear you, you can hear us.
Pick up now. What is just sorting out? Use that projector one. We can, what is to see?
Can you ask him to speak again?
Can you speak again?
Yeah, mic check 1, 2.
Yeah, this one is fine. So the problem should be Hanan Twi when I'm on Mui in Gagai. Volume thing film. Volume entry. So he can speak.
Can you say something?
1, 2, 1, 2.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, could we start now?
Yeah, we can start. We can start. Mr. Moore, want to say something before we start?
Okay.
Please, that's right.
I can stand waiting here. Is it necessary for me to use this? Yeah, use it so that you can see if it's working fine. Okay. Good afternoon. You're welcome to this session.
She's on mute. Can't hear him talk.
Yo, the guy, William, is that you? Just unmute your mic, please.
Oh, yeah. Can you speak now?
Hello?
Yeah, now we hear you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. No, I was just saying welcome
Yes.
everyone. This session is one of the many series of sessions that are going to take place. Anyway, I don't want to say much, but to just say, okay, to our students here present, to our lecturers here present, to the Lex group here present, I'm hoping that we are going to engage. It's the first, of its kind. Is a collaboration that we've actually tried to make it happen. Today we're actually discussing, the introductory, issues about blockchain, and the topic here, I'm informed, is actually Web3 and blockchain, the genesis of trust and transparency. So I don't get much to really, say. I think Palesa Gwele is here. She's going to actually shed much of light, and together with Brian. Brian, you're welcome. Thank you very much. You guys, you need to just enjoy. This is your session.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, William. Palesa, you want to take over then?
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you,
cool.
Brian. Welcome everybody. My name is Palesa Gwele. I am the director of communication and PR at Blockchain Group. So today I would really love to welcome you to this wonderful session. We're going to learn so much about blockchain technology. And Brian, can you take over? Because I've been telling the William that I'm bringing the guys home. So let's do this.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Palesa. And thank you very much, Mr. William Mukai, Kasongo, and your entire team in Lesotho. I'm really excited. This is our first in real life event in Africa. So we've been doing lots of work in Africa, but with this partnership, you're literally the first in real life event. And we're so excited to see, like, it's a whole room full of actual people. And it's so exciting, I'm gonna pass the mic to my team, Devon, Keniel, Adilah. I wish Gabrielle Gay was here. Like, we've literally been building up to this moment for so long, and it's literally a dream come true seeing y'all. So I'm not gonna say much. I'm just gonna help with the emceeing and hosting, but because of time, I'm just gonna pass it over to the team, first of all, for quick introductions, and then our two guests of honor today, Sara Adami-Johnson, all the way in Canada. Sara, what time is it? Like 6 a.m. over there, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. You can see the sun rising over here, so
Yeah,
I
literally.
apologize for that.
Yeah, and Gabrielle Green is also somewhere in the States. I don't know what time it is there, probably 10 a.m., Gabby.
It's not bad, 9 a.m. Excited to start my morning with you all.
All right, cool. Cheers. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to pass the mic over to Keniel because he is the CEO of CMCA, but Caribbean chapter. Keniel, introduction.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Yes. Again, my name is Keniel Ledgister, CryptoMondays Caribbean CEO. It is a pleasure to be here. Don't worry about the seatbelt. I promise I am the passenger. I'm headed to a charity event right now. So, I volunteered. Double tasking right here. So again, pleasure to be with you all. This is our inaugural first event where we're seeing you folks live and in charge. So we're loving this. But for just brief intro, again, my name is Keniel Ledgister, CryptoMondays Caribbean and Blockchain Lex Group. I've been with the U.S. Department of Treasury for going on 20 years. A lot of my focus has been compliance and encouraging transparency. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think that's what we're gonna touch on today. So I wanna just quickly spark that word out there, right? But look forward to the energy and participation as well.
Yo, thanks, Keniel. I'm gonna pass it over to Adilah.
Good morning, and I hope everyone is doing well today. My name is Adilah Holivay. I am a BLG board advisor, Blockchain Lex Group Board Advisor, and also I am one of the board members for Association for Women in Cryptocurrency and the Texas Regional Ambassador. And what that all means is that I do a lot of advocacy for blockchain and Web3, a lot of speaking about this subject, and particularly helping organizations move into Web3 and understand how cryptocurrencies work and interact with economics and public societies in different countries as well. So that's a little bit of the work that I've been doing, and I'm happy to be here today to speak to you all about it.
Thanks, Adilah. Devon?
Good morning, everybody. So good to see a full packed room over there. My name is Devon J. Euring. I am one of the board advisors for Blockchain Lex Group. In addition to that, I am the head of operational risk management for iHeart Media. I consider myself to be a governance, risk management, and compliance architect. I have about roughly 15 years of experience in this particular industry. I like to analyze every aspect of it, and really excited to be here and to get this conversation going, and excited to see what magic we can create together. So welcome and good to meet everybody.
Thanks, Devon. Gabby?
Sure, Gabby Green here. I'm a compliance and business support manager at Shift4, a global payments company that's also adventuring into crypto over the last couple of years. Prior to that, I worked in the nuclear security industry where we deployed different use cases for blockchain technology. So I'm excited to share about some of those, how they intersect with crypto. And I also put together a crypto learning series. So looking forward to staying connected after this event as well. Thanks, Brian.
And Gabby, you forgot to mention you've been literally the foundation to the Crypto Mondays events for this year as well, because we've been terribly busy, and you just said, yo, guys, kicking the bum. We have to get this on the ground.
I love it. I love it. Always happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Sara?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sara Johnson. I feel really honored today to be part of such a great group of experts. I'm kind of like the academic of the group and the lawyer, so maybe a little bit gladiatorial today, taking the opposing side of things. Somebody's gotta balance the excitement of technology. I work for RBC Private Banking. I'm a high net worth planner, so I live it like that. I'm the scholar in the room with Brian and everybody else's. I love this space, even though it can be controversial at times, and the technology, even though it's so great, I think we have to approach it with alertness and curiosity in its complexity. So looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Sara. And Sara, while you have the mic, do you just want to give us a quick introduction into what Web3 and blockchain is? Because these are two major buzzwords in the industry, and they're just thrown all over the place. So what are these words? What do they mean? And what do they mean for the students and the lecturers at Boto University and anybody watching, actually?
Yeah. So the technology itself, you can think of as a new payment rail system, a new form of trust, or a de-representation of trust. It's based on four main principles. The principle of decentralization. So when you are taking an intermediated system into a disintermediated system where you do not have anymore like a pyramid with a pharaoh that decides everything, but the power is decentralized throughout different nodes and throughout the computers, based on the protocol. It is distributed throughout the nodes. So we not only have a decentralization of power, but we have a decentralization or a distribution of decision-making throughout the network, and is peer-to-peer. So we now don't have a superior, to respond to that makes the rule. We have the code that makes the rules, where there is a, you know, a really robust technology that answers and, you know, decides the logic of the game. And also it's a community-based system where it, you know, it function as a 51% majority rules within a pre-established set of rules. So if you know, I normally give this really easy way of thinking of blockchain technology as a train, because when we talk about blockchain, we really talk about a way of transmitting and recording data. So we're talking about tokens, you know, we're talking about digitalized data. We're talking about virtual connectivity, in which information is now packaged into sets of, you know, zeros and ones, really, literally. We're translating reality into math. And then we're uploading this information into a superior ledger. So if you think of historically, you know, the way that information was recorded, you know, using tablets, using financial, you know, entries, you know, in accounting, for example, they were all, you know, paper-based or even digitized, but it was about real, you know, real world transaction. The blockchain does, you know, what it used to do, what we used to think of in the real world in a digitized world. So any exchanges that happen, you know, virtually get recorded into this ledger, into this superior, you know, immortalized forever there ledger, to add securities and to add quote unquote trust, and we'll talk about that, to these virtual transactions. So if you think of, you know, why is it called a blockchain, is because really it's a chain of blocks of data. So think of, you know, a train that forever goes around, following, you know, a specific route, and every stop of the route is a node, and the train never stops. And at every, you know, every so often, every couple of minutes, gets a new compartment, a new block. And inside the compartment, you have data. And the data is in form really of, you know, fungible tokens that, you know, for example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anybody can own at the same time, and non-fungible token. So more complex token that are reflective of unique assets. And to get on the train, what you need to do, you need to pay a ticket, right? And those are the fees, the, you know, pay to play kind of thing. So you get to pay the fees to get the data uploaded on the train. And once it's uploaded on the train, it has a spot. It gets, you know, a stamp on your ticket. And that's the, you know, hashtag or the ash that, you know, that little piece of data and information has that recognizes the spot of that data on the train. And every time that specific luggage, that data moves from one compartment to another, it actually gets memorialized into that ash tag. Now, to do the work of uploading the data and verifying the data that gets in to make sure that, you know, it is a real transaction, you get rewarded. So the reward mechanism, which, you know, it was one of the historically, you know, derived by behavioral economics, is a reward to the miners or the minters, depending on which system you belong to, either the Bitcoin or the Ethereum. And it's a way of rewarding the work that you put in. And it's either, you know, the computer work and the energy that each node puts in to validate the data, or is, you know, the staking of certain amount of ETH to the system to recognize the validity of that. of that information. And so it's a reward mechanism, it's a pay-to-play mechanism, it's a robust code-based ledger or recording system. So every time you think of blockchain, just think of a ledger, think of a recording system, think of the idea of meta trust, trust that is now relocated from person to person, through an established intermediary, through a peer-to-peer system, and to the code. So I leave it like that. I feel like I've been speaking for for quite a bit, and I know that my peers here may have things to add or to correct.
Okay. Thanks, Sara. So we want to fully unpack what Sara has said. I'm going to hand over to Gabby and then Adilah, Devon, Keniel, because they come from different industries. So we want to understand what Web3 and blockchain means for them based on their different, industries. So Gabby.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah, for that explanation. I know sometimes when we talk about blockchain technology, it's a lot to digest when it comes to thinking about how the technology itself works. So when I am kind of thinking about it, and maybe from Gabby's, general terms here, little bit less technical, I like to kind of think two different use cases. So one is that data validation, which Sarah provided an awesome explanation with the train example. So where would you need data validation in your everyday life? Maybe that's to prove that a good or service that you're paying for is legitimate. So maybe some of us like, I don't know, your shoes, or you want to validate that the, housing or purchase that you're making is legitimate. How do you know that what you're buying has actually gone through the quality control measures that you want? So you may want some way to store that data. So maybe it's a picture of your shoe and the shoemaking process that you can verify that, yes, this is a real Nike shoe or whatever your purchase is. So having that data validation capability and blockchain itself, just to call out here, it's only as good as the data that you put into it. So you do have to make that as a challenge, I think, when it comes to blockchain, is that you have to make sure that the data you're inputting is good data, and then blockchain just helps to validate it. The second part of that, where we hear a lot of the term of blockchain, and I think it can be overwhelming for anyone going into the crypto or looking at going into the crypto industry, is I kind of like to zoom out here and focus less on kind of the underlying technology and more on why crypto, why was crypto ideated, why is it used now? And a lot of that does break down to the culture around it, which is the kind of culture of not only wanting to maybe, make money, have fun with your friends, but also a lack of trust for our different global financial systems. So how do you ensure that money isn't just printed, or that when you need to access your finances, that a bank or an intermediary is going to block you from that? And if I, Gabby Green, want to send money to Brian, the sentiment around that is that I, as a person, should be able to send that directly to Brian and not have fees or delays or double spend on my transaction. So that's a little bit of a zoom out, maybe breaking it down even further there for how I like to think about Web3 and blockchain technology as well. Brian, I'll pass back to you.
Thanks, Gabby. So we're going to move to Adilah because Adilah deals with something called wallet hygiene. So Adilah, how does this connect? And then we're going to move to Devon and Keniel because they mostly deal with the AML, GRC kind of stuff.
So I just want to start by saying, or make everyone aware that Web3 is a $6 trillion industry by 2030. Okay, you're going from moving from apps to the apps. You're going from moving to being the consumer to being the owner or participant. So let me frame that. So what does that all mean? It means that when we talk about how you pay for things, that you are the principal payee to the person that you're going to pay. So it's peer-to-peer, right? And on top of which, what Brian's talking about is the wallet hygiene aspect. When you have to make these payments directly to peers, then you have to vet how you make the payment. You have to be more aware of the opportunity for your privacy and your security. You have to be aware of how that benefits you or how it wouldn't benefit you when you start paying people directly. So wallet hygiene and all of this means that you have to be, so like when you protect your banking account, you still have a bank intermediary that is helping protect an account. Whereas in the blockchain world, you are your own custodial individual, unless you're holding your money on a chain, whereas the chain will hold the money, but they wouldn't be really responsible for your wallet when it's being held. And that means that there is more opportunity for us to be able to not only have control, but also to learn ways to be able to secure our monies or our crypto. And with that being said, ways to do that is by number one, vetting your transaction, ensuring that it's not tied to any illicit or illegal type of activity, because those are ways to get your funds absconded from a public, like a Coinbase. I'm sure people have heard of Coinbase or Binance. These are, I think you have access to Binance. But Coinbase in the States, a lot of people have access to Coinbase and utilize Coinbase as a market to be able to buy and sell and trade crypto. However, these markets, they don't protect your wallet. They can abscond your wallet if it's tied to any type of legal activity. And this is very important as you walk into blockchain technology to understand legally your rights when you're holding money on different ledgers and also, or crypto on different ledgers, and also how you're able to exchange with peers, understanding what you're investing into, because now you're the investor. It went from you being the consumer to you being the owner and the participant. So you have to be aware of what you're participating in. You have to read what's called white papers, was usually tied to projects or like you hear about a DAO or NFT. There are these white papers that contain information, kind of like, I wouldn't say it's a user's guide, but it's kind of like an introduction to the project or to the token that you're going to buy. You have to be aware of that in order to be able to move properly in this realm. And also you have to be aware of the opportunity for you to have the control, but having control comes with different sets of rules. And it's very important to understand those rules.
Thanks, Adilah. Devon?
Thank you. So for me, blockchain isn't just technology, right? It's a mirror and a map. It reflects the future we're building, and it maps a new way to think about trust, risk, and human behavior. I say, coming from a deep background in risk management, governance, and compliance, I've spent my career, studying where systems fail, not just because rules weren't clear, but because the people behind them broke the trust, right? So blockchain flips the script. It moves from being a handshake to basically like a system, one where accountability isn't optional, it's coded, right? So it doesn't necessarily eliminate the risk, it redefines it. And if you truly understand risk, you know that that's more powerful than any safeguard alone. So blockchain to me represents a shift from saying trust us to trust the process, which is one of my favorite quotes, by the way. So it's a way to basically allow us to build organizations, economies, and even communities that are more resilient, because the foundation and trust you can verify, and not promises you to have to believe. It's not perfect. No system is, right? But it really gives us a chance to do something rare, design with integrity, govern with transparency. And it reminds ourselves that real innovation isn't just about moving faster, it's about moving better, right? So that's why blockchain matters to me personally. It's a tool to test and a transformation all at once. So
Thanks, Devon. Keniel?
Yeah, so my take on this is a little different. While it may sound negative, I do want you to also realize there's a positive to this message I'm about to deliver. So my focus is in compliance. The majority of my work is in the anti-fraud and financial investigation. So whether it was fiat currency, the illegal trade of gold, I think what has happened is technology has morphed these sectors in financial fraud. Despite the fact some have the belief that with blockchain technology, whether it's crypto or tokens, that the holder is anonymous. To some degree, that can be true. So what we found that as well as in my work is that once we're able to work with, say, particularly exchangers or the individuals that are hosting certain, whether it's your wallets or certain networks for you to transfer coins to fiat currency, whatever it is, for the sake of this, whether you want to consider, let's use Bitcoin or any type of cryptocurrency, if you want to consider cash or property, when you're holding it, I think the focus there is that you are essentially just a code. For a while now, I think the biggest issue is that people think they could do anything. So where I would step in is hypothetically, you invested in, say the Botho coin, and I love these examples. I have a great one. I'll keep it short. And somebody say for some reason you accidentally publicize your private key, so somebody was able to steal the little tokens you had left that was worth millions. You would most likely call me, another financial investigator or police and say, hey, somebody stole my money, help me find it back. In general, the consensus is that if that was cash, you just got to accept the notion that it's gone. And to some degree, it can be like that with cryptocurrency and this Botho coin. But the reality is, because this is a transparent system, and for us financial investigators, we're able to identify where it's going with other wallets is hit. So we could always trace it and peg it as it's going through the system. So just to bring it back now, that's the good and the bad, right? We don't know who took it, but we know where it went, kind of concept. Whereas with cash, we would never know. So as a financial investigator, that's what we try to do, identify potential fraud because we have access to this information that's public. And even you, even though your token would have been stolen, you see where it's going to some degree. I think the reality is that I don't want to say it's a perfect system. It's a system where it is more transparent. You're able to analyze some of the things that are going on within your network. Say there's a big heist or anything that going on, or there's individuals that are part of a fraud network, whether you're part of an exchange or a community that's following bad actors, you're able to ping these individuals and identify the wallets they're interacting. So it creates a nuance in the system. But the reality is you could have attribution. Not everyone will be anonymous. I think once we have a idea of what we want to do within your community, building out network, whether it's for transactions or purchase and things, it gives you more leverage. Whereas, for example, I live in Barbados. If I want to send you the equivalent of $100 in currency, we'll probably spend all week just trying to figure that out, trying to find the right network to be on, the transfer of funds. Whereas if we jump on a exchange, I could probably send you this funds in merely seconds. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but one thing we do love about the blockchain technology, it's endless. And I think there is greater good in it. Of course, there's always going to be these evil and bad actors, of course.
Thank you, Keniel. And right on that point, we're going to segue to the next segment in terms of institutional adoption. What are the pitfalls and potentials of institutional adoption? What are people or governments, let's say the government of Lesotho or Botswana University wants to, get into this area? How do they get into this area, and how are the people, the citizens in the country, sure that systems are going to work for them? Gabby, you want to take this? I see your hand raised.
I do. I want to jump in here because I think this is one of the challenge that blockchain industry and the companies from financial to your goods and services can all benefit from blockchain. We need our governments to lead this because the business case for blockchain technology, as many of us know, when you're changing systems, whatever company or government, that is time consuming and costly. And there isn't always the business case at the jump of new innovation for everyone to make these changes. So that's where we need regulators and government authorities to kind of lead the initiative when it comes to blockchain technology adoption, in addition to that regulation. And I can speak to that with the nuclear industry. So, for example, I'm sure we're all concerned about, nuclear weapons and nuclear material and how that is stored, and we hope that that's really secure. But the realities of it is that it's not on secure platforms as a blockchain technology is. And you would think, okay, nuclear industry, aren't you going to adopt a better system with blockchain technology instead of sending email attachments or printouts of where your nuclear materials are? And the answer is no, because there isn't the business case yet. So this is something that you can hear the passion from me, but we need these government regulators to kind of push forward safer, secure data validation and data solutions like blockchain technology. So, Brian, I am arguing that, or pushing really that our government friends here, they need to be taking more advancements and leading industry as well.
All right, cool.
Can
Sarah?
I,
Yeah?
yeah, I want to, I love this, because I am more for, sober and reasonable and proportional regulation, right? And I think there is a difference between that type of regulation and deregulation. But I wanted to go back to something that you guys have, we kind of are talking about. So the fact that blockchain is trustless because there is no intermediary, it's very narrow. It's trustless because, as we have been trying to say, it's trustless to the point of the code, right? There is a protocol, that white paper that we were talking about. So there are rules of engagement, and limited to that, right, there is automation, right? So there is a code, there is rules that are written in the system works on its own. You don't need to go to any intermediary for that, beside the custody part, right? The exchanges and all this other stuff that makes it easier for users to jump into the system. But the trustless, so the idea of not intermediation is limited to the tech, to the technology, to the system itself. On the other side is not trustless from a social and economic perspective, right? There is always a human motive, a human, a project that needs to be legitimized, and there are system risks. What we were talking about certain coins that maybe go bust, and certain projects that maybe take advantage and arbitrage, around. So I think we need to distinguish the magic and the perfection of the tech and the technology itself, and how we use it as human. Because this is where this is where we need regulation, is on how we use it, how we put it into use. Because we are human, we are imperfect, we are made to fail. And behavioral economics tell us all about that. But the tech in itself is super robust, right? The code as the law is super robust. It's how we use it. And to the point of regulation, if I had to bring up something, and I don't know if this is, a good time or not a good time, but there is a difference, for example, in the way that, MiCA, the Europeans, and the way that Delaware or Wyoming, let's take Wyoming, is approaching regulation. And I bring these two up because they're two separate philosophies. The European philosophy, which is rooted in their, idea of all countries coming together and harmonizing their own rules around one principle, which is the protection of their people. Right? And so the lens that they use for regulation is consumer protection, right? And all these ideas of being able to opt out from certain, from data, for protection of privacy. So it's looking through the lens of how do we protect our citizens. So a MiCA regulation starts from that, and it's fairly robust, right? The Wyoming regulation is, how do we protect the tech? How do we make it easier for the technology to get adopted, from everybody? And how do we level the playing field so that everybody gets to play in the sandbox, right? So if you look at how Wyoming, for example, regulates DAOs and legitimize DAOs, which, by the way, DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations. So they imagine DAOs as partnership, virtual partnership, right? Where people come together not in persons, but through an email and a Discord account, right? That's what a DAO is. And they transact through a token. So Wyoming legalizes DAOs by making them work and be recognized as limited partnerships, right? Or general partnerships. Then Laos as limited partnerships. So they kind of have taken the tech design and overlaid regulation on top of it that already existed. The Mika approach is, how do we take, the consumer and the point of failures of this technology and impose regulation on top of it? So two separate philosophy, two separate ways of going about it, two separate, principles. And so if I was a new country coming into this space, I would start looking at what is important for us. What is it that we want to achieve? Do we want to achieve regulatory, rules that are pushing the technology forward and aim at the development and everybody get onto the technology first, or protection of our people, our institutions, our students first?
Thanks, Sarah. That was fantastic. Devon?
Yeah, if I can just chime in here, and that was a great breakdown. I love the contrast
Fantastic.
between breaking down Mika and also just a local place like Wyoming. I would say, I want to talk about particularly the challenges around some of the governance aspect of it. I think this is important to really address, especially here being US based. I would say the primary governance challenge is honestly ambiguity of accountability. Basically, traditional organizations have clear chains of command, and decentralized ecosystems blur that, right? But in order to truly succeed, companies must architect governance upfront. It has to be a priority at the beginning, right? It needs to define decision-making framework, whether that's DAO structures, multi-signature protocols. It needs to build dispute resolution mechanisms. And most importantly, it needs to embed compliance and risk ownership into the smart contracts, because that needs to be a priority. Because when you embed the particular nature of risk and compliance, those are your guardrails for that framework, right? Those are going to allow you to continue to stay compliant while you can continue to grow as well. So successful blockchain adoption requires not just coding technology, but coding organizational trust framework. And I think that's key to really emphasizing the ability to be sustainable, but also to allow it to be trustworthy as well. So,
Thanks, Devon. Adilah, Keniel, and do you guys want to chime in on something, the developments in stateside right now, with Trump making this whole thing mainstream? So in addition to the ongoing response.
And I would like to go ahead, Keniel, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna shortly say this. Yeah, for a while I've been thinking that we forget we're still in the what I would honestly say still the early chain, the early stages of blockchain technology. I will wholeheartedly say we won't progress accordingly till we get a holistic approach. Meaning, I think this is something, just throwing it out there, that probably should go, from a UN perspective, United Nations. We need all hands on deck, not just to establish protocols and, just we need to have unity in this space, because there's no way to try to apply centralized roles or rules to a decentralized system without all the parties involved. And I say this because as we're speaking, and Sarah brought up a great point, in the US, there are 50 states, meaning that there's 50 different ways to do different things. And then we have the federal government. I say that we don't want to start, in my humble opinion, start creating these niche systems where that may work for brick and mortar with your banks, with your insurance, with your banking systems. What we don't want to have is these individualized systems, because again, we're going to go back to what we have. So, in my understanding is that we do need a global perspective. We need the EU, we need all these other bigger parties, obviously the US government, to come together and think about the people and think about utility, the things that we could apply, the things we could use this. But I think I forget who I'm about to quote right now. I will share it hopefully later if I could find it. A lot of nations rely on the power of their currency. That is part of their structure, as part of their brand, that is part of their name. Why would they want to let that go? Because it's for them to hold power. If we create these systems, it undermines them. So the question is, what incentive is there for bigger parties to want to do this? Again, I feel it's for the people, and that's why you see a little slowing growth with these systems. Are a lot of naysayers in government that are not for blockchain technology. It does undermine the power that they may have. So keep that in mind as well, trying to keep it realistic that as we move forward, how can we unify systems for the betterment of all of the society, all of our world? Just to throw that thought out there.
Thanks, Keniel. Adilah?
And I really want to piggyback on what Keniel's saying about unification. In fact, right now there are many different problems that we are facing with cross-border payments. There are people who want to get money to their family members and they can't get it to their family members. There are country laws that require different type of rules in order to be able to send money, maybe to feed a family cross-border, or maybe to get to your mother who's elderly and you're trying to help them pay a bill. These are problems that are at the top level that trickle down to the community level. And what occurs at this point is while the upper bodies, they're making these decisions, there are families that are impacted by this. So to me, from that standpoint, when we are talking about governance and implementing laws to help kind of basically put this technology into the forefront of other countries, we're not just talking about giving them the opportunity to be able to participate with this technology. We're talking about giving them the opportunity to have better life. And when we think about that, we think about how we can format that into being agnostic across different places in different countries. And also empowering those countries to be able to have better control over finance and resiliency that may occur due to different things, maybe a shortage or things of that nature that may occur. But then also there's the aspect of having the ability to have sustainability, to be able to hold these systems in different countries. So it's all layered in if you think about it, because even if we go at the level of the IMF or the UN, then each country would to upgrade their foundational systems, maybe from 4G networks to 5G networks, maybe from a 3G to a 4G. There's still more work to do, and there's still opportunity to increase well-being with this. But then if we go at these government levels, then we have to think about, put all of that into perspective. So that's just something to think about. But again, this is a technology that can be applied across the world, depending on how those countries would like to participate in it.
Right. Thanks, Adilah. So when go on, Sara. Go on, Sara.
Sorry, because this is so important. I think that, oh my gosh, like I so agree with you. And I think we're bringing to the table, other things when I think about trust, right? So when we think about trust in an economic or geographical sense, we think about reliability of the infrastructure, reliability of the connectivity, consistency, accountability, communication, and transparency, right? That's trust. So do I trust my country to provide that? Like if you think of reliability, what's the difference between, I mean, we're talking about computer systems, right? So we're talking about the internet, we're talking about the web, 3 or 2 or 6 or 7, whatever it is, we're talking about the web. So how stable is your grid in your country? You know, how stable are the network in your country? You know, how expensive, so now we're talking about accessibility, how expensive it is to pay for internet to run a node in a village in Africa versus in Berlin, right? And how is the state, you know, if we're talking about stake and we're talking about show me the money and skin in the game, how much is the state going to, you know, to facilitate that, you know, to create better networks, to allow their people to get onto the grid? Consistency, you know, protocol upgrades, knowledge sharing, you know. I mean, this class is amazing because I see a lot of young faces, you know, their eyes are just like so bright and it's so refreshing, right? It's so refreshing because there are people that they want to learn, they want to get there. But you know, if we have weak institutions, and we know in the United States now there is, you know, an anti-intellectualism movement and you know, funding of education, you know, what is that going to do for the entire system? Right? And the accountability that goes with that, which is the backstops, the transparency and the communication, you know, like, and that brings back to the universalization of this thing. So there are technical principle, but there has to be a movement towards investment into leveling the playing field at the basics, right? Being brilliant at the basic and create this universality of access to this peer-to-peer payment system. Because yes, everybody can have a cell phone, you know, and Bitcoin is easy to keep on your cell phone, but how much is costing you versus how much is costing me, you know, to play. And that goes into trust, right? That goes hand in hand in the trust. Again, it's meta trust because it goes beyond the code, but it's about how do we make it available. And sorry,
Sara, that was fantastic. Devon?
Yeah, I just want to add here too, because yeah, this is an important topic because we just to paint the picture to really tell the story for you, you know, in a trustless world, trust is your greatest currency, right? And you know, you guys might see things that take place on the front end, but I want to give you some little context on the back end, how important this is from an operational risk management perspective. Anytime that we are assessing a risk, one of the pillars that we look at is reputational risk, because reputation to a company's organization is so important. And because it's so important, we are literally assessing that to ensure that once the client's or the consumer's interest is top priority, right? And this is how we create that. We want to really allow that consumer or you, let's say the user, to really be invested and to feel confident that their currency is going to be taken care of and handled in the right context. Because believe it or not, certain organizations and certain companies are being fined by regulatory agencies as a result of that trust not being there. So just to paint that full picture, that's how important it really is.
Devon, that was a very important addition. I have a quick observation, and I'd just like to reflect with you guys so anybody can chime in. So, you know, in this industry, there's two things. Web3 is equated to a scam. It's a scam. That's what the institutions and that's what the press say. And within Web3, which is supposed to be a decentralized system as well, decentralization is no longer a concept, but a romanticized idea because AWS owns all these servers. You know, like everything decentralized is becoming more centralized by the day. So let's reflect on that and see how, you know, we could draw parallels when it comes to such things. Sara, I know you're very passionate about that area.
Yeah, I am because you know, I call it the great paradox between decentralization and greed. Decentralization and greed. So if decentralization means protect against the concentration of power, decentralized, right? Distributed, right? But at the same time, how does it work in practice? How does, because decentralization in itself enables new forms of what? Power concentration and greed. So think of your whales, right? The large holders that manipulates the market. Think about core development and developer that hold disproportionate influence over one protocol. Think about founders, that can pre-mine tokens or hold on to tokens, create paradoxical scarcity inside the system in a decentralized governance. So greed actually, and that's the human wicked, like that's us. That's the human weakness over the superiority of the code, right? So greed distorts the decentralization and actually pushes toward oligarchical patterns. And that's why we need robust countermeasure that is social intelligence, that is technical knowledge, that is legal parameters. And that's where you use rules and regulation, legal policies, not to stifle development, but to stifle corruption, and to make it better for everyone. That's how you use laws, the common law, to protect users, and to legitimize who should be playing their part. So that's my point of view.
Thanks, Sara. Gabby?
Sure. I think it's a really interesting call out, Brian, because I mean, the point of crypto is that it was decentralized and there wasn't regulation and there weren't third parties. But now if you look at the everyday crypto transaction, I mean, if you're on like a major exchange like Coinbase or Binance, that is your intermediary. You're having someone, yeah, literally. So truly, unless you have your own, hosted wallet and you're doing a peer-to-peer exchange, that is the true kind of decentralized nature of crypto. But it's what all of the panelists have shared today. The reason that we, do need regulation frameworks is to continue building that human level trust outside of blockchain technology and just the technology itself. So I'm right there with you, Brian. We're saying we're decentralized, but
but we're actually not.
Approve my transaction before I send it. So.
If you try to transact in the UK, you're gonna get so upset because the FCA has put some literally stupid restrictions, and you literally have to go through a test before you can make a transaction.
But at the same time, I'm sure Keniel can speak to this from the fraud side, is that you have those tests in place because you don't want users getting exploited. Maybe, I think a common one is Amazon support's calling you and wants you to pay for crypto or pay for their service in crypto. And so maybe you need some type of questionnaire before you buy to protect the consumer. But I guess to your question, Brian, how far does that go for consumer protection mindset, the philosophy that Sara shared about before it takes away from the power that was behind the decentralized nature?
Yeah, thanks, Gabby. Devon?
I'm sorry, I just stepped away. I'm not for sure exactly what the question was.
So
I could jump in. But,
yeah, okay, cool.
So I think part of it too is even touching as Devon came in, is the risk factor, right? We've been inundated with multi-factor authentication, double check things, double check senders of emails, where we've become so risk averse. I think naturally with fraud prevention, we've now adopted that mindset that you need these protocols, whether it's double checking senders, double checking the transactions you're dealing with. All these systems are ripe with fraud because, again, this is going to become very cliche for us at this point, but it's just a lack of education. You have a lot of new users who are just jumping into these systems and don't truly understand it. So I think what needs to actually happen, again, globally, is that everybody just needs to be basically educated. Just like learning math, reading, writing, technology, I'm gonna leave that very broad and open. Technology should be prescribed to every single person at an elementary level. Kids are essentially being born and know how to use tablets, but do they understand? They don't need to know the levels of coding. They just need to understand at least the basics, how things work and how to protect yourself. I think that's why people have become so reliant on essentially a centralized place to keep them safe. Even though these technologies are designed to be decentralized, I think people want to feel some sort of safety around how can I get my money back? Who can I call if something bad happens? Because we've gotten used to those systems, whether it's your general policing or your banking or even your customer service rep. Your order didn't show up, you automatically jump on the phone, hey, I haven't received it. We've gotten so comfortable in these risk-based systems that we now want to not trust ourselves also. We want to make sure the systems also have our backs. And unfortunately, as of right now, they're not designed like that. It's you, the user, have to be mindful of what you are doing.
Thanks, Keniel.
I'll chime in and add a couple of things if I can follow the conversation is leading. I'd say you want to really, again, we talked about it already. When it comes to risk, you want to have a holistic approach by it. And what I mean by that, it really needs to be a part of the culture. You need to not just view it as something technical. You want to have that in your mindset because honestly, especially in a decentralized world, you basically are your own risk officer at the end of the day. So it's really going to be up to you to be very proactive. To when you see something wrong, say something, do something about it. Because we live in an environment where you see so many companies, they push so many things underneath the rug and think it's going to be okay. Well, now because you are technically your own risk officer of your own currency, now whatever occurs is essentially going to fall back on you, right? And that's unfortunately until we get things a lot more regulated than what they are. But it's important to do so, right? Because it's going to allow you to have a more proactive mentality versus a reactive mentality. And that's what we see so often is that companies are more reactive versus being proactive. You can mitigate a lot of things in the forefront if you have that approach. So
Thanks, Devon.
Okay, I need
yeah.
to chime in. I'm sorry.
I
I need to say something.
Okay, cool.
So first of all, there is no 1-800 Coinbase. Like I had a client that unfortunately died with a whole bunch of Bitcoins. And good luck trying to open an estate account because he didn't have a will. And so now we have to open an estate account. Good luck with that, you know. And we found a crypto lawyer that actually negotiated something with another exchange to try to do that. So yes, you know, we are people that are used to have intermediation because it's that sense, oh, let me pick up the phone and call somebody. Well, in this environment, you can't, right? Like these exchanges are not friendly. They're not user like, you know, the 1-800 number called Google. Like, have you ever talked to somebody at Google? It's very, very difficult. So that is, you know, the fallacy of having an exchange because there is, you know, literally it's a numbers game. And then to the point that just made previously, so this is how I see it. I see it as asymmetries, right? And tell me if I'm wrong, you know, I'm going to put it out there. But on one part, there is decentralization. And what decentralization does, you know, like no centralized system, is that it actually reduces external oversight, right? We are our own thing. So making manipulation easier. There is pseudonymity, like, you know, you don't see my name on the transaction, you see my public key, but you don't see my name.
Yes.
Which, what does it do? It reduces reputational risk. We heard about reputational risk, right? But reputational risk for who? For everybody, including bad actors, right? Rapid wealth accumulation, like that's another asymmetry. Like the stories, I made 1000x% more wealth in what? In one day. It is happening as we speak. There are people that are trading certain coins that are becoming millionaires overnight.
The president of the United States did that as well.
I'm not gonna name names, but that's one of the things, right? And then there is, so that is related to speculative volatility. So now we have extreme price swings and arbitrage and the people in the know that manipulate that market. And then we have narratives of disruptions, and the narrative of disruptions are, you know, moral justifications. You know, we're taking down the banks, we're our own, you know, systems that also justifies bad behaviors. And then we have technical asymmetry, which goes into the exploitation of, whoever knows less, the people that can, they won't participate to the Bitcoin, but they can barely understand what a wallet is. So there is a wrap up, of inequality in education and in an actual understanding of what the technology is. And that is weaponizing the system, because as we stand, there is no universal regulation, right? And there is barely a state-by-state regulation. So
Yeah, Sarah, before I pass over to Adilah, I'm just gonna chime in. So there's no universal regulation. There can't be universal regulation because if you, for those who don't know about the classic DAO case, where the principles of code is law. The principle of code is law is code is law. So if things go tits up and you're messed, it is what it is. Okay? Because there's no police officer to come and see what's happening in the decentralized world. That's how it is.
okay, but Brian, so and people, please correct me here.
Yeah.
There is a massive difference, in my view, between the regulation of the technology, which is self-regulating, and the regulation of the users of the technology. This is what we're talking about. We're not
Right.
talking about regulating the code because, as Devon, I think, said, we have smart codes now. They're regulating itself. And we have a DAO, governance, which is regulating itself. I'm not talking about regulating the tech per se. I'm talking about regulating the players.
Right.
And that's where the point of failure is in the players. It's in the XTX of this world, is in the Quadriga of this world, is in the people that are just using the technology for something that shouldn't be used for.
And Sarah, people like Fatif useful because all they do, and Adilah, you can chime in on this. Oh, I saw Gabi's face. Fatif is not efficient. But yeah, Mike's on, whoever wants to speak on Fatif. Adilah, your mic is on mute.
I didn't want
And
to speak on
Keniel, we have our Caribbean Fatif, our sea Fatif, isn't it, Keniel? Look at Keniel just smirking.
well,
We
I'll let Gabby and
no,
Keniel weigh
no,
in on it because I didn't
go
want to
ahead. We
weigh in
do
on
though, but go ahead.
Fatif. I wanted to weigh in on the ownership and
Right.
participant aspect, and that's what it really means when you own something and when you're participating in something. The rule of thumb is that you're the person that is in charge, and carrying that type of weight, utilizing this technology means that not just that you have to educate yourself, is that you need to learn the principles that govern the systems that you choose to interact with. And that's what I was saying earlier about reading the white paper, about understanding, what you're investing into, because not only are you your own chief chief risk officer, but you're your own chief investment officer too. And that means that you carry the weight of understanding what you're interacting with. And that's key through and through as you journey through this Web3 interface.
Thanks, Adilah. Gabi, Keniel?
I just want to add this little point, and maybe my thoughts and feelings have changed over time, but we're trying to create centralized process for something that's designed to be decentralized. I think exchanges have become the intermediary. So essentially, you have a go-between, whether it's your Coinbases, your Binance, name them all. They have tried to be what we are more comfortable with. You go to a system that you want to trust, where you interact with them as if you would your typical bank. I think because it's crypto or tokens, we've gotten a little too comfortable in that total reliance. Not to say we can't trust them, but the reality is, do you understand what you're getting yourself into? Because I think we've become too comfortable in wanting to have somebody to call if something goes wrong. So again, I think we need to get out of notion that these systems need to be centralized, and it needs to be a holistic approach where we have laws and regulations that governs all. Because despite where these systems may be incorporated, at some point we're going to realize the cloud is the cloud, and there is no one state or one country that can truly regulate all things. Because it's one thing to register your company, say in the Caribbean, and then operate in the US. At some point, we're going to realize all these technologies, it has to be global because you want to interact with it in the Caribbean. I want to interact with it in the US. You want to interact with it in Africa. Some of these systems aren't designed to have these different rules. So we need to understand that we need to keep, you know, a holistic approach to this. But we'll see.
Thanks, Keniel. Gabby?
So on FATF specifically, it serves a purpose to tackle money laundering, terrorist financing, and proliferation financing. And there are irregular updates. I mean, they're on a regular rhythm, but maybe they're not regular enough updates on what FATF is advising that its member states and the members of those countries should be doing. Maybe that's not FATF's purpose to give us updates every month, but what I would love to see is more to come out of there and more action by the member states. So, for example, and I was just triple checking myself that no new guidance had come out on virtual assets in the last like 24 hours, but it has not. I think there's a lot of FATF recommendations around virtual assets in these blockchain technologies, but there's not a lot of guidance on how to tackle those recommendations, like the travel rule. And so I'm a consumer myself. I've worked with many different countries on these topics. I'd love to see more out of FATF, not just a every couple of years update, because I'm sure we can all understand how fast this technology moves. And so, yeah, I think my push there is just wanting more from
Yeah,
FATF.
thanks, Gabby.
So,
And I would like to
I
see more
think
from the FCA in the UK as well.
Keniel, I know you
so.
had a point on that.
Yeah, you know what? I did forget to touch on the FATF thing. I think when I first started understanding this governing body, we assume that they're the ones that are creating rules and laws. They're just there for guidance. They just set standards. Again, so whether it's FATF and I think um, Brian, you mentioned whether it's the U.S., Singapore, Japan,
Yeah, there's
those
this
are countries.
CFATIF as well. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I think what we forget is that again, they're not there to set rules. They're coming together as a party or a group to say, hey, these are the minimum standards of tracking, identifying fraud, avoiding fraud, and having rules to protect the ecosystem. But they're doing it from a standpoint that globally we haven't set true regulations or standards. So I do find that, and you could definitely quote me on this, that CFATF and FATF, I think they're ahead of the game because essentially they're having a baseline when the standard has not even been set yet.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
kudos
that's an
kudos to
interesting
them in
perspective.
general,
Yeah,
for
from the
sure, for sure.
baseline. But give us the guidance. I mean, give
Fair
us
enough.
more guidance. You don't have to set the rules, but throw us a bone, I think.
I just wanted to say something for the listeners. I think FATF as the new IMF. A lot of people are not wanting to participate anymore with the IMF, and they're opening up BRICS. This here helps to control digital assets. So it's another governing body that helps to control digital assets. And as you know, I don't know if anybody knows, but the Russian Federation, they've already been disqualified from their membership as of 20, February 2023. So that means that it's still a player's game. And it also means that it's still another mechanism to control those who have access to information and those that don't. And as we know in the digital world, that should not really happen because it's all decentralized. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the years to come with FATF to see how they're going to really run their organization.
thanks, Adilah. So I'm going to move to Palesa because now we want to bring in the members of the audience into the room. So we've had the panel overview of the trust, transparency aspect of blockchain and Web3. So we just want to hear from your perspective as well, like what's going on in Lesotho, for instance, and if you have any other questions before we go to give takeaways. We normally give takeaways before taking audience questions, but probably this time around we're going to switch it up. So Palesa or Mukai, I need to see you guys.
Right, what is they are fixing, whatever they are fixing. Oh,
Please, they can this one.
all right. Now use this one.
Also, you can
Okay,
look
let's
at
do this, yeah? Because
Oh,
okay, one second, yeah? Because we have some panelists who have a hard stop at the 30-minute point. Let's do the takeaways first, before the mic and sound issues on that end are sorted out. Let's save on time. So, Gabby, what's your takeaway for the session today?
the questions.
My takeaway is that there's a lot of room for continued conversation, and there's so many different aspects when it comes to blockchain technology and trust. I mean, I think we've talked about, a dozen different topics today, challenges, room for growth, industries. So my takeaway is just that there is room for everyone in this industry. There's room to learn more about it. And don't think from the conversations today that we have it all figured out. I'm sure you've already realized that. So I hope that you all will join in on this conversation and take the challenge of learning about blockchain technology and finding out how to deploy it in your use cases or how it makes sense in Lesotho as well.
Thanks, Gabby. Adilah, takeaway?
As I said to the audience today, that the blockchain industry is a $6 trillion industry by 2030. And what does that mean for everybody? That means jobs. That means a new infrastructure. That means building a legacy. And this is something that could definitely be taken advantage of now, provided you have information like what we're giving today, and you continue to follow groups like BLG to understand the latest and the greatest in this industry. This is a very unique opportunity for you to get ahead. If you don't understand anything we're saying today, understand that. And that's all I'll say.
Yeah, Adilah, are you not going to give that thingy you normally give out to people?
Oh, yes, I am.
Come on,
I
Adilah.
have I have a gift for everybody today who is who's in the room, and I'm going to leave the link and the access code to Palesa. So please make sure you visit her before you leave. And basically, what this is a Web3 book. It's called Breaking the Blockchain. I've started releasing it in parts of Canada and Africa, and it's going to go public in the United States in June on Amazon. So this is basically access to an early copy of this. And what I'm doing here is I'm introducing students and people who are trying to get into the blockchain technology space. It's basically an introductory guide, about 45 pages, and it helps you to understand that, the change that's getting ready to occur and how you can play a role in that change.
Thanks, Adilah. Sara?
Right.
No, wait, William. We're still doing our takeaways here, and then we'll jump to the questions. Sorry for that. So,
Poor
Sara?
William. So, well, my takeaway is that blockchain and trust is really context dependent, right? It is shaped by material, infrastructural, economic, cultural realities of where you're at. It's shaped by the community around the technology itself. It needs a high ramp of education to all the points that my colleagues have made. It's not for the faint of heart for playing into the system, but it is incredibly robust from a technological perspective. Again, it's an exciting time for the web and social, communities to get onto this blockchain technology. But it also presents, please, be critical, be a critical thinker when you are approaching this and wanting to really understand, opening the hood and looking at the details, because as per everything, the magic happens in the details, and make your own mind about it before, you go out and play and put your own money at risk.
Thanks, Sara. I think I'm going to say this. It's not a takeaway because I'm still here with you guys. stop thinking investment, think utility, because when you think investment, it's like you want to start playing the market. So just get your heads out of playing the market and get quicker rich schemes, okay? Focus on utility. We're going to speak about that probably in the next session. Devon?
So my final thought, well, before my final thought, you guys are getting an amazing gift by Adilah, by the way. So shouts out to her. I don't even have a copy of that. So you guys are even beating me to the punch. So, but I would say my final thought is, when it comes to blockchain as well as Web3 technology, we have to look at it as this. It gives us a tool to rebuild trust, right? But the real innovation lies in how we apply them. So trust is not just about transparency, it's about intention. Our job isn't just to build a decentralized system, it's to build accountability, inclusives, and resilient ecosystems that honor the human side of innovation. So that is what I'll leave you guys with today.
Thanks, Devon. Keniel?
Yeah, Devin just nailed it, man. He literally just read what's on my screen.
Devon always does this thing, yeah.
He
He
does,
always
man.
does this thing, man.
I would say hands down, we do need global regulations and standards. At the end of the day, this cannot be an individualized approach. But in the meanwhile, we need to be accountable to ourselves. We need to learn and understand these technologies as best as we can. We need to start small in the sense that we start with our communities. Each of us teach each other and essentially develop a trust in these systems. But till then, you need to be accountable for yourself. You need to learn and understand what you're getting yourself into. I agree. We shouldn't just be treating this as investments or like it's and not just investments, but something we could throw our money into and hopefully we may get rich. I was gonna say a get rich quick scheme, but we need to understand that we want this to affect our lives. We want to have utility. We want to have approach where it betters our society. So be accountable to ourselves.
Thanks, Keniel. You tried to remix what you normally say.
I
Is
did,
it
you know that,
not?
right?
Yeah, yeah. No, you try to cut it on a different way, bro. Just say how
I
you
did.
normally say it, bro. I caught you there,
E-
man.
Each one teach one. There
Each
you
one
go. We
teach
need to
one. Just bro.
we
Just,
need to
just
learn
just be
and teach.
organic. Just say what you say.
I was trying to put a spin on it, man. Let's go.
Okay, cool.
For
Now we're
sure.
gonna go back into the building, and William was there with Palesa. So bring those questions. We're gonna stick around. I'm gonna stick around for the next 15 or so minutes, but I have a hard jump in 15 minutes. So William and the students in the room.
Brian, we do have questions.
Yes, please, Palesa.
The first question comes from Dadi.
There's a double reverb on your end and an echo. Do you want to mute one of the computers you're using?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Palesa, mute yourself or mute a computer or something. We can hear
Can you hear me
ourselves double.
properly now?
Yeah, just do it
You want to
again.
ask it or should I read it? Okay, so the question says, given the high energy consumption associated with blockchain, doesn't it conflict with the world's sustainable development goals, like clean energy and fighting climate change?
Who in the panel want to take that? Sara, that's one of yours? Yeah, your ESG things.
Yeah, no, I can take that.
Yeah.
So yes, I absolutely. If you think about Bitcoin and what it takes to mine, and the pollution effect of Bitcoin throughout the world and the mining centers, in China, in the UAE, in Russia, in the northern country, that's something to be really accounted for. Now, as you know, proof of stake systems such as Ethereum are 2,400 times more energy efficient than Bitcoin. And if you think about blockchain technology, energy consumption versus artificial intelligence energy consumption, the reality of the matter is that we're living in a very energy hungry world. Where technology, we kind of have to think of it, if this is the crisis that it's presented, because no matter how you argue it, that is the problem. So if that is the crisis that we're looking at, how do we curb it? So how do you think and find opportunities within this, energy problem? And I would say that there are some alternative energy startups and well-established company now that are really, helping out to solve the situation. So outside, finding less energy consumption, chain, look at system where they capture entropy. And they take the entropy, so the extra heat coming out of this, huge companies and computer systems, the entropy gets captured, gets liquefied, so that it's used to lower the temperature inside the system, so that the system efficiencies are now enhanced. So yes, the energy consumption is a problem. Is there's going to be a way to stop it? I don't know. The appetite for these technologies out there. There is huge utility into it. It's getting more complex as you layer the agentic system on top of it. But is there a huge opportunity to look at how to make it more ESG, how to make it more applicable and efficient, so that the actual consumption goes down and the actual pollution goes down. So again, I'm an optimist. I'm a realistic optimist when I look at these things. But let's stop denying that it's using energy, and let's try to find more efficient ways to make it more livable and future proof.
Yeah, and Sarah, I think I saw the people doing mining firms in really drought prone areas in Africa, so the sun is not a problem. In El Salvador, they're using volcanic energy, so that shouldn't be a problem. In Alaska, it's bloody cold, so the fans are not the ASIC fans are not using so much energy for cooling down. So people are trying to work around it. So it shouldn't be quite an issue. Any other question, Palesa? Oh, sorry, Sarah. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no. I think it is an issue, but as you said, we are maturing. We're entering into the mature state of understanding that and looking at ways to curb it, right? So we're coming into the age of responsibility of sustainability.
Thanks, Sarah. Palesa, and then please use one laptop, because when you use both laptops, we are getting a feedback delay, please.
Okay, is it okay now?
It's not okay. Use the laptop that was being used for presentations initially, the Mukai laptop, I think.
Or mute your microphone, Palesa, and walk to the laptop. There you go.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, much better now.
Okay.
Much better.
So the next question is, how do you see blockchain technology impacting developing countries like Lesotho in the next few years?
That is open to the panel, guys.
Oh, this is an easy one. I think hands down, I don't know extensively about Lesotho, but I do understand this, and I think this is the greater global issue. One, you're going to see more development of applications, ease of payment processing, definitely more, in my humble opinion, just seeing what's going on in the greater ecosystem is creation of job. Everyone's trying to develop a digital economy, but they always forget the backbone of technology itself. We say things and are not implementing. So there's definitely a ton of potential. I think, again, it just the foundations, right? Once we have certain things, whether it's the regulation, the rules, laws, and standards governing it, I think there's an infinite amount of potential. Most of it is tied around utility, what we can actually do with Web3 and blockchain technology in Lesotho. The easiest one is ease of currency. You're surrounded by different countries who use different currencies, and if you want to interact with the global community, you now have to have either the US, the pounds, So just doing transactions and doing other investments will become so vastly, immensely better.
I'll say just to piggyback also off of Keniel, I want everybody to also think the potential of this, just for where you are, um, the big picture. We keep using this terminology ecosystem because it's not just siloed into one industry, right? Brian, I remember we did a meeting or a discussion a couple weeks ago where we also saw the value that blockchain can have within the farming industry. I
Yeah.
mean, that just blew me away, right? So the capabilities are endless, right? Whether that, you providing crops or certain products for your community or for your village. This is the way that we really make this sustainable, right? Not just by using it in one particular space, but no, we want this to become an ecosystem, and the way we do it properly is by using it to its full capability. So
Thanks, Devon. I personally think, when people keep saying energy this or scam that, money laundering, listen, is it better to advance and become more innovative or stay in the relic days? You know what I mean? Like, you choose the Jurassic days or move on. That's my reasoning. I know Sarah laughs, but
I
that's my,
love it.
yeah.
I love it, the Jurassic days. So, and I would start, I would say where they can start. So think of starting small, right? So think of a university starting giving out blockchain-based certificates for the classes that you're taking or for your diplomas. Think about a government starting their own government-based, so CFI, blockchain-based system where you now get your birth certificate or your death certificate on a blockchain. So nobody can steal your identity, right? Because it becomes immortalized in there. So I think that if you think of adoption from, okay, what do we need? What is that this country would get the greatest, immediate benefit? Think small, think about your people and day-to-day things that could get better. Think about a registry for land transaction, right? So that you know exactly who owns what. And I don't know if you have a lot of tribal systems, but imagine you have a tribal, code now inserted into the blockchain, where there are tribal values and principles that are now immortalized, in a blockchain that people can access from every computer. So I think, you know thyself, you know where Lesotho is, you know what you need, and start small and start nimble just to get a feel of the technology. And there is nothing wrong about having a centralized technology or blockchain to start with before you go decentralized, from a government perspective, right? So I would start from there, and you can start by surveying, do a survey of what are the, low-hanging fruits, so to speak.
Yeah.
What are the low-hanging day-to-day problems that are hurting people, and blockchain that.
For sure. Or just watch Dubai, the UAE. They're doing plenty things blockchain. I'm going to give you guys a quick story, not actually a story, but an example. There's this island in the, it's near New Zealand. It's called, is it Tuvalu or Tuvalu, one of that? Sarah, you know it, right? So this island is drowning, is fast drowning, and in a few years' time, this island is going to be non-existent. So this government is literally tokenizing everything that it can hold on to, their legacy, their traditions and everything, and it's putting that on chain. All right. So blockchain is like electricity. It can literally do anything and anything that you want it to do. You just have to be reasonable in your application.
Yeah, and I can give you another example. There is a castle in there's a very, a family in I think it's Czechoslovakia, and they have all these expenses for this, you know, heritage places like castles and things, and they can't, you know, asset rich, cash poor kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so they started to tokenize some of the art and putting that on chain and allowing for fractionalization of the art pieces. So the country can own pieces of their cultural heritage because now they own a fraction of that NFT. And there is this, you know, call to everybody now with raising of money of tokenizing these art pieces. They are raising enough money to care for it, right? To condition repair, to have insurance on it, to, you know, have exposition and invite the public through. So there is a lot of utility, to your point, Brian, that this technology allows to protect your country, right? So that's why survey and understanding what is it that you need, and where would the technology be best suited for what project.
Thank you, Sara. Palesa, we're going to take one more question, and then you and the Lesotho team, you can do your vote of thanks, and then we finish all this in 5 minutes time, please.
Okay, Brian. The other question was actually around, it says, with cryptocurrency transactions are done online, are banks on board to allow withdrawals from crypto brokers, or that is still an issue? So I would actually love to take this one before you guys.
Yeah, Palesa, yeah.
Currently, in Lesotho, cryptocurrency is still not recognized as a legal tender. So that is why, at this moment, Palesa Gwele, I'm an advocate, I'm a lawyer, I'm a technology lawyer. I am actually advocating for regulations of cryptocurrency in Lesotho. So having regulations means we can have service like virtual asset service providers like Coinbases, Binances operating in Lesotho. In that way, it says now you'll be able to buy cryptocurrency and then can off-ramp it to your bank accounts, meaning even the banks will be on board with this. Okay, so that says even as you consumers will have the protection, having the regulations. So that says, if I answered the question, I believe I have. Brian, can you have something to add on this?
Palesa, I think you're a queen and you've killed it. Like, I have nothing further to say unless anybody want to, you know, extend that. I have nothing to say further.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
I just wanted to make an announcement before we close.
Okay, for sure.
Palesa, I've sent a QR code with a code for access to the book for the group there. And I would be more than happy to get any reviews from the group once they do get a chance to review it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adilah. You want to go on and tell them?
Yeah, no, mine is just to do mine is just to do a vote of thanks if we're at that stage.
What?
Vote of thanks.
Okay.
All right, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. I would call you Brian the chair, you know, because you're the one who has been coordinating this. So
no, William, Palesa, that girl there, Palesa, she's killed it end to end. So let's give, yeah.
Right. Guys, thank you very much. You know, let me just take this opportunity to really recognize such a marvelous presentation that has been done by the team. Such, you know, presentations are valuable to us because they bring a lot of insight and knowledge. There's one thing that when we were discussing here while this, you know, this session was going on, our challenge here in Lesotho is that of a acceptance, you know, consumer acceptance in the access to, you know,
such technology. And as we actually move on, I think it is very important for us to really, bring awareness to our, youth, particularly. I'm sure you heard the questions that have been raised here. They are very valuable and they want to know, they want to embrace it. But anyway, let me take this opportunity to thank you very much for the discussions that we have actually shared with our students. They benefited a lot. And I'm sure this is just the beginning. Actually, advocating some of that, maybe this can actually take off the ground, as you promised that we're going to have CryptoMondays. I hope so. And please, Palesa, thank you very much for being here on the ground, for getting this off the ground, and so applies to my colleague here, Kasongo, who actually made connection with you. If it was not him, I'm thinking that we'll be somewhere away from this very valuable knowledge. Let us also thank the organizers. Mugai, thank you very much for the wonderful job that we've done. There are lecturers here present who actually did the organization of this event or workshop. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. To our students, please can you just put your hands together for such a peaceful, and I love you guys. I can see there is a media team that Palesa has brought here. Thank you very much, guys, for such a marvelous, arrangement. So we are looking forward to actually meeting you again in such a, at such a level of discussion, and this is very valuable to us. I don't know. I think that's all. Unless if I missed something. Right. Please, they actually say that, okay, for everyone, please, can we actually have a big round of
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you very much. So
what we're going to discuss
How
will
we
be.
do it, guys.
Okay, thank you.
This is how we do it. With my team, what we normally do is that we actually shout, like, pick up yourself. Because they did such a wonderful job.
yeah, big up yourselves.
Big up yourself, huh?
Big up yourselves.
1, 2, 3, go.
Big up yourselves, yo. What the hell?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yo.
Yeah, of course. Brian and the team, thank you very much, guys, for showing up and creating Basotho. The Basotho youth, this is like, the youth. So if this youth is getting this information, I believe Basotho is in the better hands. So guys, just to clarify this, you do not have to have like a background in coding to understand how blockchain works. So now that I have actually probed that spark, I've actually, go and research about blockchain, go and try to understand. We're going to have these sessions every month. So I would love that next time when we have these sessions, you're like in a position to ask questions. We're not going to teach you how to trade. We're actually about the technology behind cryptocurrency, okay? So that we're about that technology mostly, not about how you're going to be rich, because some of the questions, Brian, were actually about how do I become rich as a president? So we're not about it, we're about the crypt in the cryptocurrency, right? So the technology. So just to raise one of the things is that I actually love the question that how is this the blockchain going to benefit Lesotho? I don't know if you are aware that Lesotho depends so much on remittances. Remittances meaning your parents going to work in Southern Africa and then bringing the money back home. Those are remittances. So that's one of the ways Lesotho makes a lot of money to sustain us as Lesotho. So having cryptocurrency being used as maybe a medium of exchange that says, now your mother, when they want to send you like 100 Maluti right now, you can actually receive it right now. I'm sure you're aware of that through your classes, that cryptocurrency, you can send cryptocurrency within seconds, right? So now the problem comes with how do I change this cryptocurrency into Maluti in my bank? That is why I come in and say, let's advocate for regulations of cryptocurrency to have virtual service providers have like a legal standing in the Lesotho, be licensed to work in the Lesotho so that we can be able to offer our cryptocurrencies. Okay, guys, thank you very much for being here. I think this is the time for us to have our treaties. Unless you want to say something, Brian, the team.
Thank you, Palesa. I have nothing to say. I'm so grateful, and you know, the entire panel is grateful. So we shall let you guys enjoy your time together networking. Guys, if you need any questions forwarded on to us, Palesa is definitely on the ground and she's going to handle everything end to end. We look forward to seeing you very soon. And we are grateful to your university for being so receptive. This thing was organized in a matter of days. And I'm so grateful for, you know, William and Mugai and Kasongo and the entire team and working hand in hand with Palesa for not being bureaucratic or having red tape. They literally said, this is for our students. And we like, that was such a refreshing, that was such a breath of fresh air. So we're excited. Like, we want to see you guys, you know, Africa is home. So we're coming Lesotho very soon as well. And we look forward to meeting each and every one of you. So we're going to catch you next month. Palesa is going to give us the details for the next event. But thank you very much. If there's topics you want us to discuss the next month, let us know so that we find you the appropriate experts in as well who can come and just impart it from the horse's mouth. Thank you very much.